Hi everyone, welcome to The Grind. As a church, we're starting a new series called Kingdom Visions, and the first of the series we're talking about remembering the poor, and we had the honor of having our head of Mana, which is our local outreach ministry for those of you who don't know, Wilma, to share the message. And so, yeah, I think poverty is a huge issue, not just in Hong Kong, but across the board in the world. And one thing that God does say in Galatians 2:10 is to remember the poor. So do you guys have any personal testimonies or experiences serving or helping the poor?
It is just a very small thing. Down the street of Marble Road, at the crossroad, there's a very elderly woman who collects cardboard boxes.
Yeah,
And she always poured water over those boxes.
Oh, is that reason
to
why?
make it way heavier.
Oh, so you can get more money. Oh,
I think so.
I didn't know that.
No,
Okay.
Yeah. And so when we buy new equipment, we have all these cardboard boxes. So I just try to give it to her rather than just throw it away.
Yeah.
It is a small thing, but I guess it helps.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's very rare for people to like come and like give cardboard boxes to her, I suppose. So
Maybe.
yeah, because I mean you'll often see people like scrounging around for, yeah.
For me, I think I've served at a Salvation Army for a period, and I think one of the few observations besides the necessities like clothing and food, right? I think one thing that a lot of them in common yearn for is a fellowship. Honestly, it's like a community to just socialize with. That, yeah, I remember after receiving all of their stuff, sometimes even go there to shower. Like after all that, they just want to like chat. They just want to talk about their life. And I think that it's that social interaction that is another, almost you could say it's a necessity that they are severely lacking as well. That I think we don't really notice. Like, and it's that's the unique part, right? We're not in the expense of anything. We're just there to listen, and I think it's just so valuable to them. Yeah.
Like in Hong Kong, for most part, you don't necessarily sense poverty, like depending on which area you live in. But then if you go to like specific areas like Sham Shui Po or like, further away, then you can really see the huge gap in like the huge, wealth gap. So, and I think like where I grew up in Hong Kong, you don't really experience much of that. So I would say like growing up, I never really experienced like poverty, like seeing poverty. I think the most I've seen is either when I go back to Malaysia or on mission trips. I think that's where you see extreme like poverty. And I think one of the experiences that stuck to me was just visiting a slum in India. It was just like basically in the middle of like the roads, and we just spent some time like doing street evangelism with them, and I think it just really stuck to me because I was basically playing around with children. You can see the snot on their nose, like this like dried up hair is like unkempt, but then they're just like hanging off me, and like I'm just swinging them around and so on. And I think they really enjoyed. I mean, I enjoyed like playing with them, even though it was like, I don't know where these hands have been, and when's the last time they showered, but I just felt like maybe like joy, just being there. So I guess that would be like more like one of the significant firsthand experiences I had, like spending time with the poor. All right, so we talked about poverty rate in Hong Kong, and I think one of the things that we see is that it has gone up 20%. I don't think the pandemic helped much, but yeah, things has been a little bit rough. What are some people who come to your mind who serves the poor, who has served the poor? Like any significant people that comes to your mind?
Mana? No.
Besides Mana.
The Other Manor. The Other Manor restaurant in Kwun Tong.
Oh, okay. Tell us more about that.
They always give out free food to those in need.
Okay.
Even when they are always losing money.
Oh.
And so you can see the founder of that restaurant post on Facebook, and he always shares his faith and like how's the restaurant going, and how are the people doing there.
Oh, I see. That's good.
Is it Christian?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's on the first floor of Kuntong Swato Baptist Church.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
Okay.
I think along the same lines, right? Not people I know personally, but like I've seen a lot on social media, like these people who use their skills and do it for free for the homeless. Like, I think I've seen many is barbers.
Yeah.
They go and just like give like a whole new do over for all these homeless people.
Yeah.
And like I was gonna say barbers and like chefs and yeah, you mentioned the cooking part aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, going along the lines of the cooking part, so it was in Shamshepo. This was like maybe a year or two back, and we were visiting this cafe. So apparently this cafe was like, it also runs as a hostel. It does a whole bunch of things, but basically the person who runs this place, he is a missionary sent from England. Like he's a Chinese missionary sent from England, a Chinese church in England, to come here to do missions in Hong Kong. So his cafe, I think he's a runner, marathon runner. So he teaches people how to run. Like he runs like running classes. Runs running classes. Yeah, teaches people how to run, and also I think he gives out free food tickets to people. So like if you're homeless and you have that ticket, he'll give you a warm meal for free. So it's I think that's like very cool. So like how he does that. And I think Shamshepo does have a few establishments like that set up to feed the poor, because that's where a lot of, I guess, poor people live. If you go walk through the park during at night, you can see a lot of homeless people just set up camp in the park. Yeah, I think that's definitely very inspiring, like what he does. And I think other inspirational figures has also been Heidi Baker too, and I think actually being able to visit her ministry in Mozambique and seeing how she serves the villagers, like she gets down to their level. Like you know how her thing is always like stop for the one. She really does stop for the one. So I think her thing is like she's one person I would say is like consistent on stage and off stage, the way she lives her life. And then there was one time I also got to visit, like, I mean, not that I saw Mother Teresa, like, in like when she's still alive, but I didn't visit the home that she was I think running or something. It was more like a historical monument. It was just learning about what she did. The woman just really was selfless. So here's a question that actually when I was like reading up about poverty and everything, and this is a question that came up, was who do you think should be taking care of the poor?
Something controversial, but I think in the first place the poor should take care of themselves first.
Oh, okay. So tell me more about your thoughts about that.
Yeah, sure. I understand and have great sympathy for those who are bound by circumstances or limitations. But I guess sometimes some people just don't work hard.
Okay.
And blame others for their
demise.
Yeah.
That's good. Never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Because I feel that's a good argument for what I'm going to answer.
Yeah.
I feel we all should, but to certain extents, because like you see, if it's like, let's say, if a colleague, right, in our media department, if someone's struggling, right, of course I'm gonna help out because they're in my department, right? There's that accountability, and that's how I kind of see it with life. It's the race of life, that we're all in the same team, But then, so that was kind of my understanding. But then, like your answer actually does pick holes in my belief. So I think that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, because it is, yes. First, poverty can be a vicious cycle. And some of them aren't able to get out of it. Some might catch a lucky break, I don't know, win the lottery or get a job and able to take their family out. Like, who knows, right? Like, I know my grandparents were not exactly the richest people in the world. Like, one granddad was a cobbler, the other one was a carpenter. And so it was just very, like, they're not exactly very noble jobs. And also, I mean, so the fact that, like, we're able to be where we're at, I think also God's grace as well, right? So And you definitely seen movies where like, people keep themselves in poverty by making dumb life choices. And then you see the beggars on the streets as well, and sometimes like, oh, I want to give them money, I want to help them, but then you also then have someone like tell you like, oh, but that's like a syndicate happening right there. You're just feeding into like a crime. So it's like, how, when, so sometimes like I feel bad like not giving money to certain beggars on the street, but sometimes I also don't feel bad as well. But that it's questionable when you give them food and they're like, no, I don't want food, I want money. Then it's like, then like, okay, this guy, like, maybe, or maybe they just had a nice meal already and just don't need food actually.
I don't know. So I only give them like bakery coupons as well. I don't give cash.
Okay, so that they can actually redeem. There was something as well. So I know the whole there's an argument like, oh, should the church take care of the poor? Should the government take care of the poor? I mean, yeah, like what you said, Dom. Everyone should take care of the poor. And I mean, realistically though, I don't have like all the resources in my life to be like, hey, take care of everyone, right? You want to be smart with like what you have. And so I was I think again when I was on missions, I was speaking to like a church as well, because they minister to like a bunch of like refugees, right? And technically these refugees, they have legal status in the country because refugees, so they cannot get any solid work. They can't send their kids to school. So it's like they basically, the only type of work they can do is like maybe like blue collar work, like van driver, cleaning, F&B, whatever it is, right? But nothing legit. And their students and the kids will never be able to go to school properly. So what the church does is provide education for them and provide food for them. Now, technically, it is illegal to do so because they don't have the documentation. But in a way, the government is turning a blind eye because technically it was their problem, the government's problem, and the church is technically helping them with the problem. So it's like, all right, yes. So I mean, you hope like one part could, the government could help take care as well. But then also I think it's the church is doing its part. The church didn't wait for the government to be like, hey, like you tell me to take care of them, I'll take care of them. The church is like, no, we're going to take care of them because God has called us to care for the poor. So they took initiative. So yeah, I mean, I think very rarely, I don't know, like if we're really aware, maybe I'm not aware because I'm not in this field, is like, is there government initiative, organizations that take care of the poor? A lot of it is more like NGOs and like, private or whatever it is. So.
Where there's the comprehensive social security assistance.
Oh, I mean, okay, I guess that's.
So you can apply for monthly pay.
Oh yeah, social welfare.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about social welfare. Yeah. See, I'm definitely, this is something I need to learn more about and be educated. But yeah, so I think to the best of abilities, we are to, really serve the poor, to help the poor as we can. Not because, to make us feel good. And I don't know, I'm just thinking like celebrities that when they, serve the poor, do they really have the heart, or are they really like just more like for the likes, check me out?
I don't know. We probably never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. It's not like I'm gonna be like, hey, buddy, so just saw that you, did this. Like, I mean, human nature is that we feel good when we help someone, right? Like if you help the poor, give them something, you see them like light up with like gratitude, right? I mean, naturally speaking, we feel this sense of like, oh yeah, I did something good. I mean, some people can get hooked on that feeling, I suppose.
I think you can distinguish it based off. You can see people who do it just for the appearance, but I feel it's really obvious when someone is passionately, they're passionate about that topic. I mean, like, the first person that comes into mind, I already forgot her name, Greta.
The Swiss, Sweden?
The child.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is passion. At that age, that fury, right? That she was like, that speech, that's obviously passion, And I feel like that's how you can really distinguish what's really genuine. Like there's so many, occasionally I'll find these small social media posts about, celebrities who I never heard of, but it's saying that they were once a very successful like athlete or chef, but they've quit that career to go help the poor, you see. And then the fact that I don't know about their name shows that they're not really doing it for publicity. Yeah.
So, like, I know in Hong Kong, there are definitely pressing needs and challenges facing the poor. Like, what do you think some of them are?
Housing
Yeah, housing is one of them.
and the ever-increasing cost of living.
Yeah, actually, Hong Kong is one of the most expensive places to live in the world. Have you ever been, like, or looked into a, like, cage home?
Heard about it, but I've never seen one in
Never
person.
seen one.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen pictures of it, but never
Yeah.
been, like, by one. But it's small, and it's, like, sometimes it's, like, fits the entire family there. And I think something that Wilma may have mentioned, it was, like, how, like, in the summer holidays, we have this, time to, like, go out, activities, stuff like that. But then for those who are living in such, conditions, they have no place to go. They don't have the money to, like, go travel. Like, it's time to go to Japan. They basically are just pretty much stuck at home. And just imagine, like, a family stuck in a small, tiny space. It will drive you nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think something to think about is how can the church best respond to meet both the physical and spiritual needs of the marginalized? Because sometimes, like, what I think is that, yes, the church is meant to also, like, proclaim the word of the Lord.
Yeah.
But if I'm coming to the poor and be like, hi, I have, like, the good news of Jesus for you, and that's more than enough. I mean, I feel like as a poor person, I'm like, I don't need the word of Jesus.
Yeah.
I need actual bread.
Yeah.
And the quote that comes to mind is that people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. So I think usually, like, extending, feeding the physical needs first, then opens the door to bring in the spiritual food.
I think one of the ways for a church to really also make an impact, besides like, like donating food and all those other necessities, I feel it's actually also good to, like, build them to know that they're not an outcast. And then on top of that is, like, to, like, help them find their identity in God. I think similar to what you just said, Pet, about, like, making that connection, and then all the spiritual gifts can start flowing. And yeah, I feel, yeah, once they establish the identity in God, then the fruits can start
Yeah.
growing. Yeah.
Yep. So then, like, for, like, Christians, right, how can we practically remember the poor in our everyday lives?
It's funny because actually this answer should actually help me also. Because I
Okay.
admit I also struggle remembering the poor. Like what we just said, it's hard to distinguish an actual beggar versus, like, a scammer or
Yeah.
what we mentioned.
Maybe we've become so desensitized.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think that's what happens, that we desensitize ourselves. I feel in Hong Kong it's not as bad because, as you said, only in specific areas. You can just avoid that area and you don't see the poverty, right? But, like, recently I was in the Philippines, right? And poverty is everywhere. Just people just sleeping in the streets. And there's one thing that the Philippines, that happens in the Philippines is that, when you're driving your car, at every not every stoplight, but a lot of the stoplights, there'll be kids, like whether fully naked or clothed, like, trying to sell you things, or, like, they'll even, like, just come to the window, knock on your window to ask for money. And I see, and I've been using the Uber there to get over the place. All the drivers just immediately they just like turn away, and they tap, like, shoo them away. And I feel that is, like, the natural response is to desensitize ourselves. And I was with someone and they were just talking to me and they're like, it just hurt. They're sharing how it hurts just to see it, right? And so I think that's the difference, is that some of them just grew numb to it. And so I think one thing we should do is keep our hearts soft, I feel. But yeah, because I also made the bad habit of, like, numbing myself to avoid that gut-wrenching feeling, because, like, I want to give, but I can't give to all of them, and then I feel the conclusion is I just don't give in the end. Yeah. But I think, keep your heart soft, and if God wants you to do something, then follow him.
Well, for me, I would suggest reminding ourselves that God gives and takes away. Because I'm reading the book of Job, and and he's beginning to lose his children, his property, everything. And that book reminds us God has the ultimate authority, and yeah, we should always give thanks to what he has given us.
Yeah. I like what you said, Dom, about like keeping your heart soft, and yeah, I mean, God's heart is always for the poor. I think he definitely cares for them a lot, and we see it all over through scripture. And I know sometimes we can fall in the mindset of like, are they really poor? Is this a scam? And I know like the whole like, yeah, tapping on the window and paying, giving money and stuff like that. And I've definitely been told like, if you do that, you're gonna incur like a whole bunch of people coming at you and taking more and more and more from you. So people live in a world where I think, yeah, scams happen, and then you have the genuine poor, then the people, then maybe the poor then the people who are taking advantage of the poor to get quick rich schemes happening. Yeah, so I think also we just need to be careful to not fall in the savior complex and just like do things so that we can like, oh, only I can save the person. Here's all my money. Here's my time. I am, then it just points things to us, not to God. Because I think at the end of the day, whatever that we do isn't supposed to like glorify like, oh, it's my time and my abilities to help the poor. It's really like, I'm doing this out of a genuine like heart of what God wants for his people, wants me to do to bless the community. So I think in a way, the practical way to really like also just remember the poor is really like keep in mind like God and ask him to open our eyes to what he's doing, and see the world through his eyes. Because sometimes, yeah, those who are poor may not be the most obviously poor, and so you never know how God's going to use you to really impact the poor. All right, well, yeah, so I think maybe continue to just like have a heart that's focused on God's heart for the poor, and to ask God to like constantly open our eyes to what he's doing, and be part of that. Alrighty.
I would also add maybe reduce social media time,
Oh yeah.
because almost everyone will post their most luxurious or lavish lifestyle on social media, and when you walk in real life, then you see what's actually happening.
Yeah, that's true. If you just step outside like the social media world, you'll see life ain't that shiny.
Yeah.
I think one thing we're definitely challenged is to get involved, participate in outreach opportunities, use our gifts and talents to serve the poor in whatever way that God calls us to. So, yeah, let's just keep staying tuned to like what God is speaking, how God is moving, and yes, be faithful stewards of what we have. All right. Well, that's that for today, and thank you so much for joining us for the grind, and we will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.